Hello and welcome to Mastering Finance. I'm Dean Tellone. In finance, there's an old saying, it's not about how much money you make, but how much you keep. Building wealth is only half the battle. Protecting that wealth is equally important. Today's episode is all about wealth protection. We'll break down the essential strategies to safeguard your financial security so that all your hard work doesn't slip away due to unexpected events or lack of planning. In this conversation, I'll cover 5 key areas of wealth protection: risk management through insurance, legal asset protection, diversification of investments, estate planning for your legacy, and maintaining emergency funds for liquidity. These might sound like heavy topics, but I'll keep it professional yet conversational, with real-world examples to show why each area matters. Whether you're a young professional just starting out, raising a family, running a business, or enjoying retirement, these principles apply to you. By the end of our talk, you'll have actionable insights to fortify your financial foundation. So grab a coffee, get comfortable, and let's dive into building financial security, the essentials of wealth protection. Risk management and insurance. First, let's talk about risk management and insurance, the cornerstone of protecting your wealth from life's curveballs. The idea here is simple. Transfer the financial risk of big disasters to an insurance company in exchange for a relatively small premium. This way, an unexpected event won't derail your entire financial plan. I recommend focusing on 5 key types of insurance coverage. Health insurance. Medical bills can be astronomical. Without good health coverage, one serious illness or injury could wipe out your savings. In fact, about 66% of personal bankruptcies are tied to medical expenses. Health insurance helps cover those catastrophic medical bills so you don't have to pay them all out of pocket. Disability insurance. Your ability to earn an income is your greatest asset during your working years. Disability insurance replaces a portion of your income if you become too sick or injured to work. Statistically, about 1 in 4 of today's 20-year-olds will experience a disability before they retire. Yet many people overlook this risk. Imagine a 30-year-old professional who has an accident and can't work for a year. Without disability coverage, they might burn through savings or go into debt. Disability insurance provides that just-in-case cushion, so an injury doesn't ruin you financially. Property insurance, homeowners, or renters. For most families, your home is one of your biggest assets. Property insurance, homeowners, insurance for owners, or renters, insurance for tenants, ensures you'll be compensated if your home or belongings are damaged by fire, theft, natural disasters, and so on. For example, if a pipe bursts and floods your house, a good homeowner's policy will pay for the repairs. Without it, you'd have to dig into your own pocket, potentially tens of thousands of dollars, to fix the damage. Property insurance keeps your wealth intact by covering those big losses. Liability and umbrella insurance. Liability insurance protects you if you're held responsible for injuring someone or damaging someone's property. It's usually included in your auto and home insurance. Umbrella insurance is an extra layer of liability coverage on top of those policies, kicking in if claims exceed the limits of your regular insurance. Lawsuits can be financially devastating if you're not prepared. For instance, picture a scenario where you're at fault in a major car accident and the medical bills for the other driver are $1 million, but your auto policy covers only $300,000. Without an umbrella policy, your personal assets and even future earnings could be on the line to cover the remaining $700,000. Umbrella insurance is surprisingly affordable for the amount of coverage it provides, often about $150 to $300 per year for $1 million in coverage, and it can shield your savings in case of lawsuits. In short, if you have any significant assets or income, an umbrella policy is a smart safety net. Life insurance. Life insurance provides for your loved ones if you pass away. If you have a family or others depending on your income, ask yourself, what would happen to them financially if I were gone? Life insurance, term life is affordable for most needs, can cover lost income, pay off a mortgage, fund your kids' education, and generally keep your family secure in their most difficult time. None of us likes to think about our mortality, but failing to plan for it could leave our families in a financial nightmare. For example, a young couple with children should have life insurance on each parent. If one tragically dies, the payout can replace years of lost income, allowing the surviving family to grieve without financial ruin. It's truly an act of love and protection for your family's future. In managing risk with insurance, consider your life stage and situation. A single 22-year-old just starting out might prioritize health and disability insurance and maybe skip life insurance if no dependents. A married 35-year-old with kids will need solid health coverage, disability insurance for the breadwinners, and definitely life insurance on each parent. Homeowners need property insurance. Renters should get renter's insurance. It's cheap and worth it. As your wealth grows, liability coverage and an umbrella policy become more important. And for older folks, in addition to health insurance, e.g. Medicare, consider long-term care insurance to cover nursing home or in-home care later in life. Otherwise, those costs could deplete your nest egg. The key is to anticipate the risks you might face and insure against the ones that could devastate you financially. Before we move on, remember, insurance doesn't make you money, but it protects the money and assets you've earned. It creates a safety net so that one unlucky event doesn't erase years of savings overnight. In my experience as an advisor, people rarely regret having the right insurance when they need it. They only regret not having it. So take a moment after this podcast to review your coverage. Make sure you and your family are protected in all these areas. That peace of mind is priceless. Asset protection, legal tools, and strategies. Next, let's talk about asset protection. In other words, using legal tools and smart planning to shield your wealth from lawsuits, creditors, or other threats. Think of this as putting your assets in a fireproof safe so they can't be easily taken by claimants or courts. If you're a business owner, a landlord, or someone with substantial assets, this section is especially important. One fundamental strategy is choosing the right legal structures for your business and investments. If you own a business, even a small side hustle, or rental properties, separate those assets from your personal finances. The common way to do this is by forming a limited liability company, LLC, or corporation for the business. For example, say you run a small catering business as a sole proprietor and something goes wrong. A client has a severe allergic reaction and sues the business. In a sole proprietorship, there's no legal separation between you and the business. So all your personal assets, your bank accounts, your house, your car, could be pursued in the lawsuit. But if you had an LLC, the business is a separate legal entity. In most cases, only the business's assets are at risk, and your personal assets are shielded by that corporate veil. In short, an LLC or corporation acts like a legal force field around your personal wealth. It's not expensive or difficult to set up in most jurisdictions, and it can be truly life-saving for your finances. Similarly, if you own rental real estate, consider putting each property into its own LLC. That way, if a tenant gets injured at one property and sues, they can go after that property's assets and insurance, but not your other properties or personal savings. Separating and containing risk is the name of the game. Another key tool is the use of trusts. Trusts are legal arrangements that hold assets for the benefit of someone under rules you set. Certain types of trusts can provide robust asset protection. For example, an irrevocable trust, one that you can't easily change or revoke, can shield assets from creditors. Once you transfer assets into such a trust, they're no longer considered your personal property, which means creditors or lawsuits may have a hard time claiming those assets. Asset protection trusts, available in some states and overseas jurisdictions, are designed specifically to protect wealth from future lawsuits or claims. These are more common for high net worth individuals, but even a basic living trust, revocable trust, has some protective benefits. While a standard living trust won't protect against your own creditors during your life, it will keep your assets out of probate, more on that soon, and it can include provisions to protect your heirs. For instance, you can structure a trust to manage and protect assets for a child until they're older, or to shield an inheritance from an adult child's creditors or ex-spouse. Asset titling is another simple but effective aspect of asset protection. This means how you legally own your assets. For instance, jointly with a spouse, individually, in a trust, etc. Certain forms of ownership provide protection in some states. A common example, homestead exemptions protect a primary residence from creditors in many states, and tenancy by the entirety, a way for married couples to own property in some states, can protect property from claims against one's spouse. Consult your local laws or an attorney on these. But the takeaway is that how you hold title to assets can affect how safe they are from lawsuits. Make sure your titling is aligned with your protection strategy. For instance, if you're married and your state allows it, titling your home as tenants by the entirety could safeguard it if one of you gets sued individually. Let's bring this to life with a scenario. Imagine a doctor who has built up substantial savings and a paid-off home. As a physician, they face malpractice lawsuit risk. They decide to be proactive. They form an LLC for their private practice. They purchase high malpractice insurance coverage, and they put their home in a trust or title it jointly with their spouse in a protected manner. If a lawsuit comes, the malpractice insurance kicks in first. If a claimant tries to go after personal assets, they hit the roadblocks of legal entities and trusts, making it much harder to seize the doctor's personal wealth. On the other hand, a different doctor with no asset protection might face a lawsuit that not only bankrupts the practice, but also forces the sale of personal assets to satisfy a judgment. The difference is night and day, and it comes down to planning ahead. Bottom line, as you accumulate assets, take steps to legally shield them. Don't commingle personal and business assets. Keep them separate and use entities. Consider trusts for estate and asset protection purposes, and carry adequate liability insurance, tying back to our first topic, as a first line of defense. Insurance will often pay for lawyers and settlements, keeping your wealth intact. For many listeners, a basic step may be consulting with an attorney about setting up an LLC for a business or creating a living trust as part of your estate plan. These tools ensure that when life throws lawsuits or claims your way, your core wealth stays secure behind legal protections. Diversification and asset allocation. Now let's turn to diversification and smart asset allocation, a more investment-focused way to protect your wealth. Diversification simply means not putting all your eggs in one basket. It's about spreading your investments across different asset classes, stocks, bonds, real estate, cash, etc., and across different industries or geographies so that no single downturn can sink you. While this is often talked about as an investment strategy for growth, it's equally crucial for wealth protection. Diversification reduces your overall risk and stabilizes your portfolio performance. Why is diversification so important? Because markets are unpredictable. Even the smartest investors can't perfectly predict which asset will soar and which will tank in a given year. By diversifying, you ensure that when part of your portfolio is struggling, another part is likely doing okay, which cushions the blow. It's like a balanced diet for your money. You wouldn't stay healthy eating only one type of food, and your wealth won't stay healthy if it's all in one investment. Asset allocation goes hand in hand with diversification. It means deciding what percentage of your money to put into different asset classes based on your goals and risk tolerance. For example, a young professional might have a higher allocation to stocks for growth and less in bonds, whereas a retiree might do the opposite to preserve capital. But both should diversify within those categories. The young investor shouldn't buy just one company's stock. They might use a broad stock index fund or a mix of many stocks. The retiree shouldn't hold just one bond. They'd have a bond fund or ladder of various bonds. Let me illustrate the danger of not diversifying with a real-world cautionary tale. During the late 1990s tech boom, many people invested heavily in tech stocks. Some employees of big tech companies had their entire 401k retirement savings in their own company's stock. When the dot-com bubble burst in 2000 to 2001, those who were over-concentrated in tech saw their portfolios drop 50 to 60% or more. In contrast, investors who held a mix of assets, say some US stocks, some international stocks, some bonds, maybe some real estate, they took a hit on their stocks, but their bonds likely rose in value, or at least held steady, and their overall losses were far less severe. Another example, think of the financial crisis in 2008. Real estate values and stocks plunged, but high-quality bonds and cash became safe havens. If you had all your money in real estate development projects in 2008, you may have gone bankrupt. But if those projects were just part of a broader portfolio, your other assets would help you ride out the storm. Diversification is your shock absorber. What does smart diversification look like in practice? It means owning a variety of asset types, some stocks for growth, and within stocks, diversify across different industries and perhaps countries, some bonds or fixed income for stability and income, maybe some real estate, direct property or REITs for income and inflation hedge, and some cash or cash equivalents for liquidity. You might also include other assets like commodities or gold as an inflation hedge, or alternative investments if appropriate. But the core four, stocks, bonds, real estate, cash, are the main ones for most people. The exact mix will depend on your situation. There's no one size fits all. The key is that you have a mix. Also, remember to rebalance periodically. As markets move, your allocation can drift. For instance, if stocks have a great year, you might end up with a higher percentage in stocks than you intended, which could mean more risk than you're comfortable with. Rebalancing means selling a bit of what went up and/or buying what went down to get back to your target mix. It's a way to sell high, buy low systematically and keep your risk in check. By diversifying, you accept that you won't hit the absolute maximum possible return of one hot investment, but you also avoid the catastrophic losses that come from being wrong and too concentrated. It's a trade-off that, for wealth protection, is well worth it. As Nobel Prize-winning economist Harry Markowitz said, diversification is the only free lunch in investing. It reduces risk without sacrificing expected return. So ask yourself, is your current portfolio truly diversified? If you're not sure, that's a sign to review it, perhaps with a financial advisor. Make sure no single investment could take you down if it implodes. Spread out that risk, and you'll build a more resilient financial future. Estate planning and legacy protection. Our next essential is estate planning and legacy protection. This is all about planning ahead for the inevitable we will all pass on someday, and also for the possibility of incapacity during life. Estate planning might sound like something only the ultra-wealthy need. But trust me, every adult should have some basic estate plans in place. It's a crucial part of wealth protection because it ensures that what you've built is passed on, according to your wishes, as efficiently and securely as possible. It also protects your loved ones from legal headaches and financial hardships in a time of grief or crisis. Estate planning typically involves a few key legal documents and tools. A will. This is the foundation. Your will is a legal document that says who gets what when you die, and it can name guardians for your minor children if you have any. If you die without a will, called intestate, state laws will decide how your assets are distributed, and that may not align with what you would have wanted. Dying without a will also often means a longer, more complicated probate process. Probate is the court-supervised process of settling an estate, and it can drag on for months or even years, tying up assets and racking up fees. A will at least provides a roadmap for the court and for your family about your wishes. Yet, a majority of Americans don't have a will. Only about 1 in 4 adults have one as of 2025. If you're among the 75% without a will, that is one of the first action items to address in protecting your wealth and your family's future. Living trust, revocable trust. A living trust is an arrangement where you, the grantor, transfer ownership of your assets into a trust, manage them as the trustee while you're alive, and then upon death, the successor trustee you've named distributes the assets to your beneficiaries according to your instructions, without going through probate. The big advantages here are avoiding probate and maintaining privacy. Trusts aren't public like wills in probate court. A properly funded living trust can ensure a smooth, quick transfer of assets to your heirs. This is especially helpful if you own property in multiple states. Otherwise, each state might have a probate proceeding, or if you want to set up rules for how and when your heirs receive assets. For instance, you might not want your 18-year-old child to inherit a $500,000 life insurance payout all at once. Through a trust, you could stipulate they get some at 25, some at 30, etc., under a trustee's guidance. While a revocable living trust doesn't provide strong asset protection during your life, since you still control the assets, they're generally reachable by your creditors. It is excellent for legacy protection, keeping your wealth transfer efficient and protected from certain costs and delays. Many financial advisors and attorneys recommend living trusts, especially for families with significant assets or real estate, or in states where probate is particularly costly or slow. Power of attorney, POA. This is a legal document that designates someone to make decisions on your behalf if you're unable to. A financial power of attorney lets your chosen agent manage your finances, pay bills, manage investments, etc. If you are alive but incapacitated, say unconscious after an accident, without a POA, your family might have to go to court to get a conservatorship to handle your affairs, which is time-consuming and stressful. A healthcare power of attorney, often paired with a healthcare directive, designates someone to make medical decisions for you if you can't communicate. These documents ensure that if you're alive but can't take action, your affairs are still handled and your wishes are respected. Advance Healthcare Directive, Living Will. This document states your wishes for medical care if you're incapacitated, especially regarding life-sustaining treatments. It addresses questions like, if you were in a coma with little hope of recovery, would you want to be kept on life support? Having this written down is a huge gift to your family. It spares them from agonizing guesswork and potential disagreements about your care. Think of the famous case of Terry Schiavo years ago, where a family fought in court over removing life support. A clear directive can prevent such turmoil. All these tools work together to protect your wealth and your loved ones. Let's consider a real-world example of why this matters. The musician Prince died in 2016 with no will or estate plan. He left behind an estate worth over $150 million. The result? A legal battle that lasted 6 years and incurred millions in legal fees before his heirs finally settled the estate. It was very public, very expensive, and likely not at all what he would have wanted. Now, most of us don't have $150 million estates, but even if your estate is a house, a retirement account, and some savings, dying without a plan can cause long delays and conflicts. Your assets might be frozen while the courts sort it out, leaving your family in a lurch. I've seen even moderate estates, $500,000, $1 million, take years to settle because of lack of planning or family disputes. On the flip side, I've also seen how a well-crafted estate plan leads to a seamless transition. For example, a grandmother I knew had a living trust. When she passed, her assets were transferred to her kids within weeks, in exact accordance with her wishes, with no court involvement and minimal cost. That's the outcome you want for your own legacy. Estate planning isn't only about death, it's also about incapacity planning. As we live longer, there's a real chance that at some point we might not be able to make our own decisions, due to illnesses like Alzheimer's, for instance. By having powers of attorney and healthcare directives in place, you ensure that someone you trust can step in seamlessly and manage your affairs, and that your personal wishes for care will be honored. It's protection for you as much as for your money. One more aspect of legacy protection. Consider the beneficiary designations on things like life insurance, retirement accounts, 401ks, IRAs, and payable on death bank accounts. These designations bypass probate and go directly to the named beneficiaries. Make sure those are up to date and reflect your current wishes. Life changes like marriages, divorces, or new children warrant updating beneficiaries. I've encountered situations where an ex-spouse was still listed as a life insurance beneficiary because the policyholder never updated it. You can imagine the potential mess. Keeping these updated is a small but important piece of the puzzle. To sum up, protecting your wealth for the next generation means planning ahead. Create a will and/or trust, set up POAs and healthcare directives, and keep your documents current. Yes, it takes a bit of time and money to do estate planning with a professional, but the return on investment is enormous in the peace of mind and the protection it provides. It ensures that whatever you've built, be it modest or massive, ends up where you want it to go, with minimal loss along the way. Don't leave this one on the back burner. As I mentioned, most people put it off, often until it's too late. Take the initiative to secure your legacy now, and your future self and your family will deeply appreciate it. Emergency funds and liquidity. Our final core topic is one that every single person needs, no matter their age or wealth. Emergency funds and liquidity. An emergency fund is a stash of readily available money, usually kept in a safe, liquid account, like a savings account or money market, that you set aside exclusively for unexpected expenses or financial emergencies. This could be a job loss, a medical emergency, an urgent home repair, car breakdown, or even an opportunity that requires quick cash. Why is an emergency fund essential for wealth protection? Because it serves as your first line of defense against financial shocks. Life happens, the water heater fails, the car needs a new transmission, or you find yourself between jobs for a couple of months. If you don't have liquid funds to handle these surprises, you might be forced to rack up high-interest credit card debt, dip into your 401k, incurring taxes and penalties, or sell investments at a bad time. Any of those actions can significantly set back your long-term financial progress. An emergency fund prevents that by giving you a cushion. It protects your other wealth-building assets from being raided or sold off cheaply in a pinch. So how much should you set aside? A common rule of thumb is to save 3 to 6 months worth of living expenses in your emergency fund. The exact amount depends on your situation. If you have a very stable job and few variables, you might lean toward 3 months. If your income is volatile, say you're self-employed or work on commission, or you have multiple dependents, you might aim for 6 months or even more. During uncertain times, some people feel more secure with up to a year's worth of expenses liquid. The goal is to have enough so that you could weather a period of unemployment or a series of big, unexpected bills without resorting to desperate measures. Let's consider an example. Imagine two individuals, Alice and Bob. Alice has built up a 6-month emergency fund. Bob has none. Suddenly, both Alice and Bob's company announces layoffs and they lose their jobs. Alice immediately taps her emergency savings to pay rent, utilities, and buy groceries. She's stressed about the job loss, but financially, she's staying afloat while job hunting, and she isn't accumulating debt. Bob, on the other hand, has no cushion. He puts expenses on credit cards, and by the time he finds a new job a few months later, he's $10,000 in debt. Now, Bob's new salary has to go partly to paying off that debt with interest, setting him back, whereas Alice can pick up right where she left off. This story plays out very often in the real world. In fact, studies show that most Americans are ill-prepared for even a $1,000 emergency. In 2025, about 59% of Americans couldn't cover a $1,000 unexpected expense from savings. That's a sobering statistic, and it shows why having an emergency fund is so crucial. Without one, a relatively small emergency can snowball into long-term financial trouble. Emergency funds also provide liquidity, which simply means having access to cash when you need it. Even if you have a high net worth on paper, if all your assets are tied up in illiquid investments, real estate, long-term investments, etc., you could struggle in a crunch. For example, say most of your wealth is in properties and the stock market. If an emergency strikes during a market downturn, you'd have to sell stocks at a low price, locking in losses, or take a home equity loan on short notice. Neither is ideal. Keeping a healthy amount of cash on hand ensures you can handle needs without disrupting your investments. It also prevents you from making rash decisions with long-term funds. I often tell clients, don't invest your emergency savings in the market. That money is not about making a return. It's about being there when you need it. Treat it as self-insurance for life's little storms. Also, liquidity isn't just for personal emergencies. It can be for opportunities too. Maybe a business opportunity arises, or an investment comes along where having quick cash allows you to take advantage. If all your money is locked away, you might miss out or have to scramble. So, a solid cash reserve gives you flexibility to both withstand bad times and capitalize on good times. A practical tip: keep your emergency fund in an account that is easy to access, but not too easy to dip into for non-emergencies. A high-yield savings account separate from your checking is a good choice. It earns a bit of interest, and you can transfer money in a day or two when needed. Avoid the temptation to invest this fund in stocks or anything with risk. You don't want it to lose value right when you need it. If you're listening and realize you don't have an emergency fund yet, don't be discouraged. Start small and build it up over time. Make it a monthly expense to pay into your own safety net. Even putting aside $50 or $100 a month will add up. And whenever you get a bonus or tax refund, consider putting a chunk of it into your emergency fund until you hit your target. It may feel like you're not doing anything with that money, but in reality, you're doing something very important: protecting your future self. The sleep at night factor, knowing you have cash for emergencies, is huge. In summary, An emergency fund is the unsung hero of wealth protection. It's not flashy or exciting, but it's the foundation upon which you can safely build the rest of your financial house. So if you haven't already, make establishing or topping up your emergency fund a top priority. It's one of the simplest but most effective ways to fortify your financial security. Actionable insights. We've covered a lot of ground, so let's distill this into some actionable steps you can take right now to bolster your wealth protection. Audit your insurance coverage. Take stock of your insurance policies. Do you have the big five covered? Health, disability, property, home renters, liability, umbrella, and life insurance. Identify any gaps. For instance, if you have a family and no life insurance, put that on the urgent to-do list. If you own a home or drive a car, check that your liability limits are adequate and consider an umbrella policy if you have assets to protect. Don't forget long-term disability insurance if you rely on your paycheck. Schedule a meeting with your insurance agent or HR benefits coordinator to review and update your coverage. Separate and protect your assets. If you have a business or rental properties, ensure they are properly separated from your personal assets, e.g., set up that LLC or corporation if you haven't already. Review the titling of your major assets. Whose name are they in, and is that the best way to hold them for protection and estate purposes? Consider consulting an attorney about establishing a trust or other asset protection structures appropriate for your situation. These steps will create a legal shield around your wealth. Diversify your investments. Look at your investment portfolio, including retirement accounts. Is it well diversified across different asset classes and not overly concentrated in one stock or sector? If not, consider reallocating. For example, if you discover that 90% of your portfolio is in tech stocks, it's time to diversify into other industries or add bonds, other assets to balance risk. You might use broad index funds or seek advice on constructing a balanced portfolio. The goal is a mix that aligns with your age and risk tolerance, smoothing out volatility. Establish or update your estate plan. If you don't have a will, make getting one a priority, especially if you have dependents or significant assets. It can be done relatively quickly with the help of an estate attorney or even online tools as a starting point. Already have a will? Great. When's the last time you updated it? Life changes, marriages, children, divorces, changes in assets mean your estate plan might need tweaks. While you're at it, set up a financial power of attorney and healthcare directive. These documents are often part of a basic estate planning package. If your estate is larger or more complex, discuss with your attorney whether a living trust makes sense for you. The key insight here is to not delay. None of us knows when these plans might be needed. Getting it done will give you confidence that your legacy is protected. Build your emergency fund. Assess your liquid savings. Do you have that 3 to 6 month cushion set aside? If not, start building it. Treat your emergency fund contribution like a mandatory bill. Automate a transfer each payday into a savings account if you can. If you do have an emergency fund, double check that it's an amount that truly makes you comfortable given your current lifestyle and responsibilities. Remember, this fund is what keeps a surprise from turning into a disaster. Aim for that sweet spot. Half a year of expenses is a common target where you can sleep easy, knowing you're prepared. By taking these actions, you'll be proactively strengthening the protective moat around your financial life. It might take a bit of effort and planning, but each step will significantly enhance your financial security. Don't try to do everything at once and get overwhelmed. Prioritize what's most urgent for you and chip away at the list. Even small improvements can make a big difference when an emergency hits. As we wrap up today's episode, remember that building financial security isn't just about growing your wealth. It's about safeguarding it from the what-ifs of life. We discussed how insurance shields you from catastrophic losses, how legal structures and estate planning create a fortress around your assets and legacy, how diversification prevents an investment wipeout, and how liquidity in the form of emergency savings keeps you stable through storms. These topics may not always be as exciting as chasing a hot stock or a new business idea, but they are absolutely foundational. Think of them as the reinforced concrete in the foundation of your financial house. Without them, the higher you build your wealth, the more precarious it becomes. With them, you create a durable structure that can stand the test of time. I encourage you to take action on what you've heard today. Knowledge is empowering, but it's the action that makes the real difference. So, after this podcast, maybe sit down and do a quick self-assessment. How protected is my wealth right now? Identify one or two areas where you're most vulnerable. It could be finally getting that will done, or upping your insurance coverage, or reallocating your investments, and make a plan to address it. You don't have to do it alone either. This is your call to action, to consult with a financial advisor, insurance professional, or estate planning attorney as needed. These professionals can provide personalized guidance and help implement the strategies we discussed. Often, a brief consultation can highlight blind spots you didn't even know you had, and fixing those could save your family from future hardship. Ultimately, wealth protection is a lifelong effort and an integral part of financial mastery. As your life evolves, new jobs, new family members, new assets, you'll want to revisit and update your protection strategies. But the good news is that once you put a strong foundation in place, maintaining it is much easier. It's about staying vigilant and proactive rather than reactive. Thank you for joining me in this important conversation about building financial security. By tuning in, you've already shown your commitment to securing your financial future. Keep that momentum going. In our next episode, we'll continue to empower you with knowledge and strategies to master your finances one step at a time. Until then, stay proactive, stay protected, and as always, keep striving for that secure and prosperous future. If you found today's episode helpful, please share it with someone who might also benefit. And don't hesitate to send in your questions or topics you'd like to hear about on future shows. Remember, the goal is to take control of your financial destiny, one episode at a time. Thanks for listening, and I look forward to guiding you on the next step of our journey to mastering finance. Stay safe and take care.